Alrighty, but last we left off, things got freaky. Okay, not in a good way. Not in that kind of way. Subscribe, like, comment down below. I think you know the drill. Let's get back onto it, baby. Garrett, don't scare me like that. Sorry, jeez. People repeatedly reacting to me like a movie monster might have given me a complex about looks if I had any confidence in my appearance in the first place. No, I'm sorry, just a little jumpy. She quickly recovered and even looked apologetic. I gingerly slid into the bench opposite. I wanted to ask her about, well, a number of things. But I also didn't want to spook her into shutting down. She brushed her hair back with a hand, but I noticed her eyes dart rightwards. Just for the briefest of moments, was she looking at Sharif or the mess hall door? You okay? Holding up? Me? Oh yeah, of course. She gave me a grin and a dismissive hand motion so unconvincing even I could see through it. How about you? Oh. She lowered her voice and leaned in. How's the eye? Been giving you trouble? I admit I wasn't entirely sure how the conversation was going to go given her odd behavior, but this was something else. It was like she'd forgotten about, well, everything. Oh, it's fine. I have my eye drop, so I'll be okay for a while. I gave my pocket a pat for emphasis. Oh, that's great. I noticed that her eyes once again darted towards the entrance. I couldn't contain myself any longer. I had to ask. June, how are you feeling? I mean about Joseph. I spoke as delicately as I could, bracing myself for her to fall back into the despairing mess she'd been before. But instead, Joseph? She yelped in a quiet but high-pitched voice, eyes wide with alarm. She seemed to catch herself though, and quickly adopted a facsimile of her old despondency. That's like a simile, but a bit different. Fuck me, was this what I looked like when I was lying? I resolved not to challenge or provoke her. If I was going to get any kind of answer, she needed to be reassured. Yeah, I'm still worried, but I don't think we should risk anyone else trying to find him. Cause she found him, or he found her, and confirmed. Wait, then who was getting murdered? Are you sure? We don't even have a body. He could still be alive. No. She was suddenly firm, and for a brief moment I caught a bit of her old nerve like back on the Sylvia when she laid down the law on Aaron and Dana's bickering. Look, I appreciate it, Garrett. I'm really grateful to everyone for the efforts they made, but look. My god, wait a minute. What if she murdered Joseph? Oh, okay, I'm throwing conspiracies and theories and what. She made a gesture to others in the room, all still either absorbing themselves or having hushed conversations of their own. We all got separated. Tabby got the fright of her life, and any one of us could have gotten lost or injured or worse. She met my eyes, hands clasped before her. I can't ask you guys to risk yourselves on my behalf. We should focus on getting rescued. Once they get here, they have all the time they need to search while they take me home. Wait, what? I raised an eyebrow. What did you say? I'm sorry, June, but all the time they need? Aren't you worried he might still be... The sound of the door made both of us jump. Everyone looked towards the source, the main entrance. But more to the point, Sharif was missing. Sharif? Sharif! The tigress had been standing at the counter with her head in her hands until... Oh, fuck me, I bit my tooth. The bad one. She stormed over to the door, wrenched it open, and disappeared. Her furious calls echoed in the corridors and around the room as Rufus stood, holding a torch and shining it out into the corridors but did not leave the room. I stood up and moved towards the door. What happened? What's wrong with Sharif? Well, I guess finding his body dead in that meat locker did a number on him. Wait here, don't none of you leave. You're here? Why is no one just leaving? I'd be like, let's all go in the fucking group. Without waiting for a response, he gripped his torch and left, allowing the door to slowly swing closed. Gail, Tabby, Aaron, and Stefan approached me. Gail and Tabby both looked concerned, though Tabby had regained some of her former nerve. Aaron had a distinct look of, here we go again. To be honest, I wasn't far off from same. Yeah, it's like, everyone is just, this is not a hotel. Everyone's just darting off and somewhere, It's like, Stefan though? Wonder what the good professor is up to. He spoke as though to himself, but his tone was clearly directed at us, as though challenging us to respond. Oh, for fuck's sake! He rounded the possum, his foot tapping rapidly. He literally just found his dead friend. Aaron, please, that's not... No, I've had enough of this conspiracy shite. Oh no, he's gonna punch it like the 20-year-old Stefan. He stepped towards Stefan, who backed away alarmed. I'd never seen Aaron so angry, not even when Dana had implicated his sister back on the Sylvia. I am sick to death of this fucking X-Files shite. Sharif is grieving his fucking best pal and is responding in a completely understandable way, unlike a certain someone. Stefan's expression rippled as though a barrage of conflicting emotions were competing to take center stage in his brain. The one that startled even me. Fury. Oh, and I suppose a fucking trainee psychologist would know, wouldn't he? You tell me, other than being a belligerent asshole, what do you have to offer the group? Gay glanced fearfully back and forth, for once seemingly unable to interject. Tabby locked eyes with me, trying to figure out how to defuse the argument. Garrett fixed the radio, Tabby tried to fix the engine, Rufus has been trying to keep this group together, and Dana has been trying to find who killed Joseph. Other than being a prick to Garrett, what have you contributed? Whoa, wait a minute. You know what? Ah, shite. He stepped closer to Stefan, poking a finger in his chest and staring up at him. Stefan was taller, but Aaron was the better built of the two, and I knew he worked out. In a fight, I knew who I'd place my money on. I am fucking done with your insufferable delusions. Alex is dead, okay? He might even be one of those bodies in that fucking room. Stefan faltered, his mouth flapping as he tried to find the words to respond, but it was clear Aaron had hit him where it hurt. You're in denial, and I... The mess hall door squeaked open, and Rufus and Dana both pushed their way inside. Sheriff, however, was nowhere to be seen. Sheriff's gone. He's goddamn disappeared. We need to look for him. Here we go again. Every time we try to look for someone, people just wander off, disappear, and then Garrett gets blamed because, oh my god, you abandoned us. You disappeared. And this time everyone turned to look at the pair. Rufus, through gritted teeth, exclaimed, no, we absolutely do not. He could get into trouble, maybe even get injured. We can't just let him go. Now everyone was looking at the possum. Even Aaron, who moments ago was preparing to unload his bile upon him, seemed surprised. Think about it. If what the resident psychologist had to say is true... He gave a hostile look at the hair, and Aaron seemed like he was going to retort before Stefan continued. Then he's mourning, and I think he needs space. The whiplash nearly sheared my head from my neck, from accusing him of being a conspirator to appropriating Aaron's arguments about him grieving in mere moments. That's fucking stupid. There's a killer here. We need Dana enough. Look, I agree we should stick together, but if Sheriff is gone, run off on his own to do God knows what, let him. What matters is we stick together, we here in this room. He jabbed a finger down the floor. We grab that battery, we power the radio, we call for help, and we get our asses the fuck off this goddamn floating coffin. Are we agreed? Yeah. Gil and Aaron both brightened immediately, nodding and murmuring approval. Tabby looked pensive but also nodded. Have you been listening to me? If we use the battery, we lose our only means of escape. Where do we escape? I was about to say, Dana, where do we escape to? Back to the fucking ocean? We can't summon help. Where the hell are we supposed to escape to out here? That's why we need charts, maps, some record of where we are. Rescue won't find us if we can't tell them where we are. Can't they, I don't know, track us by our signal? Follow our broadcast or something? I was asking the same. There was a brief silence as eyes scanned me. Then Tabby, then finally June, who was watching us with a semi-glazed look in her eyes, like she was only half paying attention. June, I guess you know more about this than any of us. She seems to snap out of her daze and gave us a thoughtful look. It's possible to track a radio broadcast just using the signal, but we need to broadcast. Yeah, I was about to say they're gonna need they're gonna need to broadcast that shit a long ass time. Radio waves can go far in the distance, but there's a limit. And if we're gonna broadcast only once, and at that moment no one is like receiving at that time, it can happen. No one's trying to receive any signals or whatever. Or going through the radio, chitter chatter, patter patter. Yeah, no one will hear it. But we need to broadcast long enough for them to triangulate our position, and we need to be able to contact someone in the first place. I agree. We would first have to have someone in the end of the other call, because if there's no one there, well, no one's gonna pick it up, and yeah, it won't do us so much good if we can't tell someone we're in distress. You see, we should find out where we are, then we only need to broadcast long enough to give our location. But the ship isn't where it's supposed to be, remember? What if the charts are wrong? I was about to say as well, the charts are for the normal course. But it clearly is in the middle of a fucking blizzard of ice or something. Yeah. Dana for once did not have a response. She opened her mouth, paused, then closed it looking annoyed. Can I suggest something? She raised a hand gingerly. I don't know about any of you, but I'm starving, and I don't think trying to think or work on empty stomachs is a good idea. As if to make her point, Rufus, Stefan, and Tabby's stomach all growled in unison. After an awkward silence, a brief ripple of laughter went around the room. Alright, reckon that's a good idea, but we need to ration it out. This is all we have. We went to the counter where the battered and faded cans of food were sitting in a wooden box. There were 12 cans, between 9 people. If we have half a can each, that means 2 meals each, plus 3 cans to spare. Only half? She sounded both alarmed and despairing. Gail hugged her tight. You can have my share, okay? I get what you're trying to do, Gail, but you need food as much as anyone. I'll say I had a can recently. Before we went to that weird room, fuck it. I'm not hungry right now. So we can treat that like my ration for today. My stomach threatened to betray me with a loud growl, but I put on a brave face. Good man. There was a soft thudding and a brief thump on the floor before Aaron spoke up. I also had a can of Actor about an hour ago, so don't worry about me. It sounded a lot more bitter, but Rufus gave him a big smile anyway. Mighty good, Fafia. Alright, so we only need 3. I'll share with Tabby. Alright, and I'm going to insist you eat your half. No tricks or complaints, okay? Gade gave her a wry grin. The two sisters knew each other too well. I can share it with June if that's okay. June nodded and smiled but did not stand up from her table. It's just left Dana and Rufus. I could tell the tension between them. They both clearly felt like they were in charge, especially since Sharif had basically given up any authority. Assuming he had any left, of course. Still, they selected a can, and after silently agreeing, grabbed a plastic spork each. I expected them to split up again, but this time they all gathered around the same table, sliding into the benches. Admittedly, I was pleased. I was tired of the constant bickering. Having a group meal felt like a good way to try and rekindle some camaraderie. Everyone, not including Aaron and myself of course, started eating, taking turns to grab sparkfuls of the cold food. At first there wasn't much talking, everyone poked at the food with a distinct look of enthusiasm, or lack of enthusiasm. I remembered the unpleasant meat slop I'd eaten in the hospital. Ice cold food wasn't the best for morale. Garrett, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you sure the vehicle battery will work? Everyone paused, they didn't look at me, but I could tell they were listening. I mean, it should do. Normally the radio would run off the mains, but a vehicle battery should have the right wattage. And you sure you can hook it up? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Why are you asking? She bit her lip and looked away. I was starting to recognize her tells. She was worried that I might fail, and if so, that it would fall to her to figure out a way to get it working. Yeah, she is a mechanic. Anyway, fine. Garrett knows what he's doing. You fixed the radio already, right? Aye. I think so. The words left my mouth before I could catch them. I think so was not the reassurance people needed right now. But then I didn't want to lie. Setting aside the fact that I was awful at it, if the radio did not work, I'd have gotten everyone's hopes up for nothing. With a deep breath, I decided to just pull the plaster off. Alright, I'll be honest. The insides were pretty miraculously intact, considering someone clearly tried to smash it. Most of the parts I needed to repair were wires, cables, stuff that was pretty easy to patch together. Let's go with that. The circuit boards were a different matter. They were mostly intact, but I had to solder them as best as I could. I really won't know if I repaired them until we power it up and try to use it. All the more reason to get that battery and haul it up there, right? He had some of his old joviality back and gave me a big grin. Relax, Garrett. You've got a good brain behind that badass scar. You'll figure it out. Rufus! I couldn't help but grin at her scandalized tone. God damn it, Rufus. Why did you have to be hot and confident? I could feel some of his energy rubbing off on me. Or rubbing one on me. Oh my days, you sons of bitches. Maybe I could do this. I had the knowledge, the training, the tools. A smattering of conversation followed as everyone finished sharing the cans. For the first time since the Sylvia sank, I felt a little more normal. After a while, Stefan stood and stretched into the sounds of bones creaking and joints popping. Guys, sorry to say this, but I need to take a leak. Gade and Tabby made unamused faces. Aaron and June both quickly stood. Me too. Hate to say it, but me too. The pair of them looked like they wanted to object, but apparently thought better of it. I mean, it wasn't like they could hold it in or go there in the mess hall. Just come right back, no dawdling or wandering. A little of the light-hearted mood faded at their words. Aye aye, mon capitan. He stormed out without making eye contact with her. Stefan gave a shrug and followed, along with June. We continued to talk, though we didn't really have much to say. Trying to chit-chat in this situation just felt pointless. Even Grail, normally willing to strike up small talk, only occasionally offered any conversation. The sounds of the winds outside had died down, and I could actually see the horizon outside. The blizzard had finally relented. My thoughts turned to the snowcat. I hadn't noticed it when I originally arrived, but then I wasn't exactly in a state to explore. If it was here, intact, even operational. What did that say about the crew? Had they taken the other vehicles? I agree. The Iran did not have any aircraft like helicopters as part of their complement, despite having a helideck. Time and again, my thoughts turned to the mystery where the rest of the crew had gone. Exactly, this was a big crew, man. This is not like a 10-people job. Not even a 20. There's gotta be like 50 or even 100 people here. More or less, right? And they just disappeared. My other bet is the remaining crew, or most of the crew, maybe, took the tractors, tried to find anywhere to find out where they are. My other theory would be that, well, either it's the same part theory, whatever. And the remaining crew, as little as they were, stayed here at the ship. Only a handful of bodies, including the chief researcher, and he had likely been sealed up alive. Exactly. Garrett, what did June say to you? I looked up in surprise. She was watching me carefully with that piercing analytical glare. I'm sorry? You were speaking to her before, right? Did she say anything unusual? The others were quiet now, all eyes on me, and I glanced around feeling like I was being interrogated. In what way? You know in what way, Garrett. She sat up straight, crossing her arms. Tabby and Gil both looked confused, but Rufus was always watching me carefully. What's this about? It's just June seemed very different ever since she went off the search. Like, I don't know, she wasn't upset anymore. Rufus nodded along and Dana narrowed her eyes. Did she say why? Not as such, just that she was sorry for dragging us all in the search when it was so dangerous. She says we shouldn't try to look again until rescue comes. Which is kind of weird. It's like she's been really lovey-dovey with Joseph. Would die for him and then... maybe... No, we're not searching him. Maybe he's dead. Dana finally looked away, resting her chin on her fingertips, reminding me of Sharif when he was pondering. Speaking of, those guys should be back by now. I agree. They could literally pee anywhere in this place. We all looked toward the door. I strained my ears for sounds of approaching paw steps, but there was just a soft whistle of wind through the corridors. The toilet was just down the corridor. It shouldn't have taken all three of them this long. I'm going to check on them. Dana, cool it. We already got 4 people missing. We should... And then I heard the sounds of brisk paw steps approaching. Moments later, Aaron pushed aside, still obviously in a foul mood. What were you doing all this time? She immediately started on him, but he dismissed her with a wave. You really want me to describe taking a piss? It took half an hour for a piss. Dana, Jesus, can for a second. Where's June and Stefan? I don't know. What, did you want me to chaperone them back like some fucking hall monitor? Rufus gave a guttural snort of anger and stood, drawing himself up to his full height and towering over Aaron. The hair quickly changed his attitude. It's because it's like... I would try. I'm like, let's say it was a stranger, but this is a scenario where everybody counts, okay? Literally. We're gonna take a piss. Alright, I just finished pissing. I'm gonna wait for the other person. They don't come out? What the? I don't know. I just needed to be alone for a while, okay? Process some things and lost track of time. And you didn't see Stefan going to the toilets. Did he leave before you? I don't. Yes, he did, but I don't know when. I wasn't paying attention to him. I guess he just did his business and left. Dana looked about ready to punch someone, and so did Rufus. Dana pinched her nose in frustration. Oh, great. We need to search for them. Oh, for God's sake, they probably just need some space like I did. This might come as a shock to you, Dana, but your company isn't exactly a comfort blanket. Her tail swished dangerously and a growl rumbled in her chest. Am I the only one that remembers that someone got fucking killed and the bridge is a slaughterhouse? Alright, Jesus Christ, I'll go. Though his deep voice cut across the room, he raised his hands, Placatingly. Placent? Isn't some... What the fuck is that word, developer? What is that, man? What is that? I'm searching in now. Placatingly? Pronunciation. Placatingly. Placatingly? Tingle my tingle? Placatingly. Yeah, I think I'll go. I'll check the toilets and have a look around the general area. I promise I won't go far, okay? He added that last bit when he saw Dana's bared teeth. I agree with Aaron that they've probably just gone to have some alone time or whatever. God knows, I think some of us need it. He gave Aaron a hard look, turned, wrenched the door open, and stomped off. The sounds of his hooves on the floor disappeared off into the distance. The awkward silence that followed was so torturous I was tempted to leave, myself. Slowly we drifted apart to sit by ourselves. The absolute silence in the room felt so oppressive. My thoughts bounced around between the dozen different worries, theories, or concerns I had at any given moment. How long had Rufus been gone? Or the others for that matter? Time seemed infinite in this place. No real day-night cycle to keep us grounded, and without my phone I couldn't even tell the time. Connor. Where was he? What was he up to now? He'd ran off before telling me where he was going or how to find him. What if someone ran into him? What if Rufus and the others returned, dragging him along? Even if he somehow coordinated our stories, my lies would unravel pretty much instantly. Especially in front of Dana. Plus, we were brothers. We looked so alike, there was no possibility they'd miss a resemblance. My head felt fuzzy, like I was drowsy, but then... What the fuck? I saw that. Fix it. I first stood up. My hack was raised and my tail went stiff. My mouth went dry and my heart felt like a hand was squeezing it. A threat. Something nearby. Called them. Bring them. Then I heard it. A soft scraping at the door. It was slightly ajar. A pitch black slit leading into the corridors. And there was an eye. Staring. White, glinting off the lantern light. Me. It was staring at me. I could hear someone or something just at the edge of my hearing. Beckoning, not inviting but demanding or daring. Find it. It wanted me like a hungry predator. It wanted me. I've had enough. Dana slammed the table, sending empty cans rattling. Dana! This is ridiculous. We're getting picked up one by one. Picked off? Don't you think you're being a bit... No! She bellowed at Gail, making her record... Exactly. First Sharif. Then people needed to take a piss. Aaron come back, but now Stefan and June are gone, and now Rufus is gone. She bellowed at Gail, making her recoil. For a moment she stood, breathing heavily as her eyes flashed dangerously. But then she came to her senses. She looked appalled and raised her hands. Gail, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have shouted. Gail still looked frightened, but to her credit, she smiled and nodded in acceptance of her apology. Look, she turned to address the room. I know I sound like a broken record, but you want to go looking for them. Dana grimaced and pinched her nose again. I get that I'm not exactly Miss Popular here, but I don't want any harm to come to anyone else. So I'm asking you all, please, let's search as a group. Every time we try to search as a group, we find a part in the ship where we need to split up, and then she goes like, okay guys, let's split up. What the flip, man? Dana, my heart was still pounding and I glanced back to the door. Garrett? Seeing my alarm, she followed my gaze to the door. She strided towards it and flung it open. Dana, stop! But it was too late. The door swung open and the lantern light flooded down to the corridor where my predator had been skulking just moments ago. Hello? Rufus? Stefan? June? But nothing answered. No beast leaped upon her. It was just an empty corridor. Nothing. God damn it. She turned to look at me with annoyance, but when she saw the petrified look on my face, she became concerned. Garrett? I was still watching the doorway. Part of me felt that whatever it was, it had left, but the fact it had been so close, just meters away, told me it could be nearby. It's nothing, nothing. You know you're a terrible liar, right? I said forget it. I'm tired, okay? Alright? My mind was torn between telling them and risking them thinking I was losing it, or shrugging it off. She clearly wasn't convinced, but mercifully let it be. Look, I get it. We're all exhausted and we're feeling the strain, but we're all here. We're all we have. We start ignoring each other. There's no telling we last long enough to even get rescued. So I'm asking you all, please help me look for the others. We all exchanged looks as we tried to come to consensus. Aaron looked a little guilty. Alright, fine, but we stick close together. I swear to Christ, if anyone wanders off and leaves me alone again, I will kill you myself. This drew a few chuckles, even a small smile from Dana. Yeah, okay, same deal. No one leaves the group. Sensing agreement, Dana sighed and gestured for us to follow. Collecting our torches, we marched grinning, but as a group out in the corridor, we decided to head to the bridge first. It was a key part of the ship, where the charts were likely located, and I figured we could check on the radio as well. The entire time we made our way up, we were calling out. Normally I'd have been terrified of making so much noise, but the presence of the others was a welcome comfort. My ears constantly scanned for that presence. Every glint of metal made my stomach clench. Every creak or groan made me spin to confront it. The others seemed to notice my clear apprehension. Garrett, what is it? You're seriously freaking me out, man. Sorry, I'm just on edge. I wanted to tell them, but what? I saw an eye at the door that vanished the moment Dana opened it, that some mysterious presence was watching me. Anyone is already wary of me, especially after nearly scaring him to death at the bridge. But I could not deny what I felt, what I saw. Jesus, here we go again. Hey, guys? I turned to Gale and Tabby. Don't want to go in, it's fine, just so you know it's really bad. I can handle blood, Garrett. Perhaps for the first time since I met her, Gale expressed irritation with me. I should have known Gale would be made of sterner stuff. Yeah, she's an actual nurse. That said, I couldn't help but catch the moment of stunned silence as she paused, slowly scanning the room. Tabby looked like she was going to throw up and gave a little whimper. Anyone? She called out, but it was nothing but the wind. This is fucked up. Someone must have heard us by now. Garrett, is this it? She motioned towards the radio room. I nodded, led her to the ruined door. Inside, the radio, patched together as best as I could, stood untouched since me and Aaron had last been here. Yep, it looks pretty torn up. Yes, someone went at it with an axe or something, but the critical parts inside survived, for the most part. I mostly had to hook up its components to the interface. What the fuck? Interface, what the hell? She scanned the radio with her torch before turning to me. Damn. Damn, am I glad you decided to stay on this little cruise. It's true, there was a decision, right? I don't know if they panned for it, the developers, but there was a decision to just not get on the ship. She gave me a wide beaming grin and clapped my shoulders before walking out. Gade and Tabby, who had both been peering over her shoulders, both did the same and murmured warm approval. The only reason I knew my frigid numb tail was wagging was because Tabby gave a little grin and rolled her eyes. We moved down, methodically pausing on each level to call out, still no responses. The complete lack of responses was more terrifying than any scream. It would be better for a scream, because at least that's like, they didn't just vanish. They're still here. Where the fuck were they? The ship wasn't large enough that 4 people screaming at the top of their lungs could go. Yeah, I was about to say, this place is dead quiet. The moment someone screams, even if, especially 4 of them, I would be like, oh, okay, so there we go, they're trying to find me. The ship, well, yeah, I don't know, man. As my throat started to hurt, I could hear in the voices of the others the increasing shrillness, the hoarseness in their shouts, and the conversation between us had halted since the bridge. And yet, just from their shouts, I could tell they were becoming increasingly terrified. By the time we moved below decks, the overpowering stench of fear from the others was almost enough to make my eyes water. Aaron's ears never once dropped from fully erected, swiveling for any responses to our calls. Each time we pause to call out and await our response, his paw tapped at least once. I hadn't detected that presence since the mess hall, and I'd have been tempted to dismiss it the way I had when Aaron and I had been on the bridge. But I know what I saw. Deeper and deeper, no discussion, no chit-chat, only our increasingly desperate cries. Tabby was practically glued to Gale at this point as the darkness swallowed us. It was as we approached a T-junction that I noticed 2 things. The first was that the corridor branching off to our right looked familiar, and the second was that a familiar horrifying stench emanated from it. Subtle at first, enough to make me pause and flash my torch down the dark passageway. Garrett? The others stopped. I tried to swallow, but my tongue was like parchment. I sniffed again, hoping it was a fluke. The metallic tang hit my sinuses and made my stomach lurch. There was no blood! Oh no, fresh blood! Blood. Even Dana looked afraid. She shone her torch alongside me down the passage. The beam only just reached the far end, showing another T-junction. We couldn't see anything out of the ordinary, no blood or bodies, but some kind of violence had taken place, and whatever it was down there. Are you sure? His voice was more pleading than a question. Can you tell, whose blood it is? Can't say I'm familiarized myself with everyone's blood scent. I grimaced and quickly gave her an apologetic look. Sorry, but no. All I can tell you, it's blood and it's recent. Dana shouted into the corridor, June, Stefan, Sharif, Rufus, one name after the other, and we only got back oppressive silence. We looked at each other, fright in our eyes as we wordlessly came to an agreement. Slowly, carefully, we started down the corridor. Instead of shouting, now we were only hissing out the names of the others, barely above whispering. Exactly. The stench was getting stronger, and as we reached for the far end of the corridor, I realized with a growing sense of dread where we were and what was nearby. Oh no, we're back at the dead body place, huh? I didn't even need to use my nose to know where the blood scent was coming from. I stepped out in front, leading the others. I knew exactly where we would find the source. Okay, this is getting really freaky, man. Behind me, Tabby gave a small shriek. Aaron thumped several times, spinning around as though something was going to leap out from the darkness around us. The stench wasn't as overpowering as the bridge. I had a brief flash of hope. It wasn't as much blood, so maybe they were alive. Look! I traced her pointing finger. She was shining her torch on a collapsed shelf, partially blocking a smaller side passage. The blood tray led down it, with an awful smear on the side of the shelf. Someone was attacked, struggling, and they tried to block it off. Something was chasing them. It hadn't been moved as far as I could tell since we'd last been here. Whoever was bleeding had ducked under it, and my stomach turned at the thought, maybe even crawled. Dana seemed to snap out of her initial shock and marched towards the corridor, now calling out openly. I followed her, joining my voice to hers. We ducked under the heavy shelf and followed the trail, still calling out when my torch beam fell across something on the floor. No, it can't be. June? Okay. I was wrong? Holy shiza. I don't even know who to... We can't even... freaking ghost killer? Joseph is still out there? Footprints. Not her footprints. Look at that. Those are boots. I barely even registered a shrill shriek from behind. I didn't know if it was Tabby or Gail at first until Gail barged past me. Following Dana, she ran to June's side. I knew already she was dead. The glassy, vacant eyes and even her pose told me without a doubt. Sound drifted away. I couldn't focus on the urgent voices of Dana and Gail. I felt the sensation in my limbs go numb, as though my very consciousness was retreating, making itself smaller and huddling in my chest. Just a short while ago, she'd been sitting with me, talking, full of life, and now, before going to that cursed room, I'd never seen a dead body before. It had been bad enough seeing anonymous corpses wrapped up, even Hagen frozen in death, but to see June such a sweet lass like this. My awareness started to trickle back, and I heard Dana and Gail. Their initial frantic movements and words had faded to a grim finality. Is she? He knew, as did I, but he also needed to ask, to remove the doubt. God! For a moment we simply stood in silence. Gail got up to run to Tabby, who had been standing with her hands covering her muzzle in horror. You know what I'm gonna do? This might be fucked up. First we need to get her body. Wrap it up with something, like a funeral or something. And then tie it up. Tie it as much as we can. I don't want to go with my theory where dead people are springing back to life. Some have memories, some don't. But it's better to take chances, okay? For a moment we simply stood in silence. Gail got up to run to Tabby, who had been standing with her hands covering her muzzle in horror. She tearfully whimpered and fell into Gail's arms as her sister hugged her tightly. Carefully, gingerly, I stepped closer. Dana had one hand over her eyes, clearly trying to keep her own grief in check. Dana, can you tell me what happened? What do you fucking think? Someone fucking murdered her now? Aaron, that's enough. We know she got murdered, but how, who, what, where, why? There's so many questions, and when? He sputtered, looking back at her, then at me before his anger melted into sorrow. Sorry, I'm sorry. I knelt by Dana's side as others clustered around us. She was stabbed in the abdomen with a blade, but the weapon is missing. As she spoke, Dana continued to examine her. She was methodical, cold even. I imagine this wasn't her first time having to do this, though I doubted with the body of someone she knew. She doesn't have any defensive injuries, and she was stabbed directly from the front, a single blow. Someone she knew. Knew enough to get close to her. Because I'm pretty sure June isn't no pushover. She can handle, she can fight. She can struggle. Either that or she was caught off guard, but it doesn't. The only struggle here is her blocking off the path. But if I was a killer, would really hinder me if I was a big guy or a small person? She doesn't have any defensive injuries. Yeah, exactly. She was either taken by complete surprise or she knew her attacker. Okay, now we're leading me in more with Joseph is alive. She confirmed that, and now Joseph stabbed her. Or something, someone else. The silence that descended was thick enough to cut. Based on her body temperature, I doubt this happened more than an hour ago. The door, it had her handprints on it. She might have been in that room when she was attacked. After a moment of thought, Dana stood quickly and marched towards the doorway. The rest of us exchanged worried glances before following her. Dana was examining the blood-stained door carefully, passing her torch over the ghastly handprints. The handles are covered in blood, and look! She pointed to the single handprint in the wall beside the door. She tried to close the door, tried to seal it with the handles. But the door can be opened from the inside, unless June had a key to lock it. Securing the handles wouldn't have kept someone inside for long. I don't think she expected to. She was probably just trying to buy herself time to escape, but she suddenly glanced at the floor, shining her torch around as if looking for something. All of you look for the murder weapon, any knife or blade. Quickly we did so, spreading out and scanning the floor for signs of any kind of weapon. Minutes passed, we didn't speak at all. Everyone focused on trying to find the weapon someone had used to end June's life. Anything? Nothing. Either they took it with them or hid it somewhere. Even the amount of blood, the blade must have been pulled out shortly after she was stabbed. Oh god, do you think we'd come here quicker? No. She was firm but gentle as she turned to face Tabby. The wound was fatal. Even if we'd found her immediately, she would have bled to death in minutes. That was right in her stomach. Lots of arteries there, my man. But Tabby. She'd only survived if she was stabbed in the middle of an operating room, being in the middle of doctors and surgeons and shit. She embraced her sister, pulling her head against her shoulder. Even if I'd been here and I had bandages, it wouldn't have helped. She bled to death internally. She would have needed surgery, and even then we wouldn't have had time. Tabby simply wept softly, whimpering. The dawning horror of the scene was starting to unfold in my mind. June, for whatever reason, approached the door. Someone was waiting for her. Someone she knew, or maybe she was caught by surprise by whoever was lying in wait. She would have had no time to react as her killer thrust a blade into her before cruelly ripping it back out. Her only instinct at that point was to try and trap her murderer. Only then did she try to escape. Was she trying to secure her escape, or maybe try to ensure her killer was caught? What went on in her mind during those final awful moments? June died alone and afraid. So, what do we do? If June is dead, does that mean the others? Oh god, well, I think we can discount the idea Joseph was killed by an animal. But why June? Who could possibly want to hurt her? The sounds of rapidly approaching footsteps made us swing around to shine our lights away we'd come. 3 figures were sprinting towards us, torch beams dancing back and forth. Guys, we're screaming. What? This is such a coincidence. You're telling me... Wait, which of us? Tabby, 3 gals, 2 me. 5 of us have been screaming at the top of our lungs, up and down the entire ship. None of them approach, weirdly enough. And now... one scream... a dead body, they all approach. What? Oh my god, is that blood? This time it wasn't just Dana who viewed them with naked suspicion. Even Tabby and Gail gave them accusing looks. Who got hurt? Oh no. Not hurt, murdered. The 3 of them exchanged horrified looks. How? My man... He folded his arms down, looking stern at Dana. She was stabbed near that door. She bled to death, fleeing her attacker. Oh god, I think I'm gonna be sick. And true to his word, he gripped his muzzle, made a stomach-churning retching noise, and dashed off to the side passage where upon he loudly threw up. Jesus, this can't be happening. Surprisingly, it was Tabby who asked the question I was waiting to hear from Dana. Where the fuck were you guys? Sharif surprisingly did not hesitate to launch into an explanation. I need to be alone, think things over. Tobias, seeing him like that has not been easy on my nerves. And before you ask, no, I do not have an alibi. That is the disadvantage of taking time alone to grieve. I ran into those two shortly after I heard a scream. He pointed to Rufus and Stefan, who both looked very uncomfortable at the tension. And just where were you thinking things over? Tobias's quarters. His tone was firm, though his eyes dropped. Guilt or grief? Dana stared with him with her laser-like gaze. I could see the calculations going on behind her eyes. Sharif's excuse was plausible. Reasonable even, but that did not change the fact that he had no one to vouch for his innocence. And you? Oh, come on, why in God's name would I hurt June? She was cool and sweet. No, Stefan. Where were you? Answer the fucking question! With the last word she... that was kind of funny. With the last word she barked at him, causing nearly everyone, Stefan included to jump. For some reason his eyes seemed to jerk in Sharif's direction. I was researching. What is that supposed to mean? What happened here? Trying to find clues, you know? That's a shitty alibi. That sounds like you're the one who murdered her. And I assume you, Rufus, can't vouch for his whereabouts? No, sorry, kid. He gave an apologetic look at Stefan. Look, I thought I heard someone, okay? That's why I did not return to the mess hall straight away. We shouted on you, all of you. You cannot possibly convince us that the four of us screaming your name just went unheard, but Tabby screaming once got your attention? But this is nuts. What reason would any of us have to kill June of all people? No. Enough with the death. Yeah, she's dead. No explanation? 5 people screaming their names? This is not like 10 freaking ships honking into one another, so we can't really hear anything. Revenge. But why? A shock paused as everyone stared at her. Joe was a Sylvia's bosun. The Sylvia was a technical shit show, and that is directly responsible for us being stranded here, and any one of us has a motive to kill him. And June, God rest her, was clearly in a relationship with him, plus she was Sylvia Crew as well. There's a rather large flaw in her reasoning. He gave her a pointed look, but the motive for killing Joseph is plausible. The motive for killing June is utterly specious, you know? Yeah, sure, she was in love with Joseph, but that's it. She wasn't an engineer or a mechanic. Yeah, I agree. That'd be like, I don't know, killing the girlfriend of the guy who ran over her mama. That's true. It's like, it's so... Like, what? Why? We simply don't have enough information to speculate as to why June was killed. Do we have the murder weapon? No, whoever stabbed her pulled it out, causing her to bleed to death. I swear I saw a pang of something. Oh, I swear I saw a pang of something. A twitch of the eye? Maybe the mental picture was upsetting him enough to crack his facade. A discomforting silence settled as we each scanned our companions. Last time we hadn't had solid evidence Joseph had been deliberately killed by one of us. With June, that no longer applied. Someone here in this group was a murderer and more than likely a double murderer. We looked for the weapon, it's not here. Either the killer took it or hid it somewhere. Should we look for it? You know, for evidence? Oh no, I don't want to split up again. You know what's fucked up? For some reason, one of these people loves going along, you know, just walking down the halls alone, thinking, alone with their thoughts. You wouldn't catch me dead alone, walking down a dark corridor that may or may not be haunted or a murderer on the loose. It's like, I doubt it would matter. A small bladed weapon could be hidden anywhere here. As for suspects, well, that's true. A bladed weapon could easily be thrown out of the ship, put it in the crevice or somewhere. We're gonna have to rip the entire ship apart, and you know, we don't have the time and energy and food to do that. She gave a pointed look at the 3 formerly missing members of our group. Stefan looked affronted and was about to speak when Rufus cut him off. Do you know how long ago she died? Well, the time since her leaving the mess hall and now is about an hour and a half, give or take. That being the case, Rufus. She fixed him with a piercing stare. Even though you did not leave the mess hall until after the others, that still leaves you as a suspect. He looks frustrated, maybe wanting to protest, but surprisingly, can't argue with that. Wait, are you... No, of course I ain't, dumbass. He rounded on Aaron, who quickly shut up. I get that I don't have an alibi, and neither do these two, but there's another possibility. He then stared directly at Tabby. You said you saw someone before, right? In the engine room? No, wait just a minute. Gail, let me talk for my... Exactly, there's someone here not part of our group. Gail, let me talk for myself. Yeah, I did, or at least I think I did. You never answered before, but what made you think this person you saw wasn't one of us? Well, she bit her lip and clung a bit tighter to Gail. I saw boots, pants too. The boots were dark, so I couldn't really make out what kind of feet they were. But they were definitely wearing blue pants, navy blue. Instantly, every eye in the room scanned each other. I felt a surge of relief when I realized none of us were wearing navy blue trousers. But then... Oh no! No, it couldn't be! That was one of my theories as well. I was like, or maybe Connor is the murderer. I felt sick, like a vice was crushing my stomach, nearly forcing its contents up my throat. If what Tabby saw was accurate, then it is impossible. There's another person on board. You give Dana a sneer of contempt, unless you wish to elaborate on what motive any of us three would have to kill June, especially in such a brutal and callous manner. I would posit it as just as a valid theory. First of all, I thought it was gonna be Garrett. You know, the mind splitting. Maybe he went off for a good hot 30 minutes and killed her, but then that's impossible. He was literally within the room for the entire time. Expected Dana to explode, to tell him how insane it was. The idea of a survivor hunting us was just a desperate throw of the dice by people who were suspects in at least one murder. Sorry. But instead she looked stunned. She looked away with a bizarre expression on her face. Stefan looked away, seemingly fixated in some spot on the floor with a distant look. Rufus looked troubled but thoughtful while Sheriff's smugness melted away, leaving sadness. Aaron also seemed disturbed, glancing at Tabby as though to get confirmation of her seriousness. I'm going to check that room. Without waiting for a response, she turned on her paw and marched to the blood-stained doorway, wrenched it open and disappearing inside. For some reason, Rufus and Sheriff both looked agitated and followed straight after her. But Stefan, after offering a come on gesture to us, disappeared inside after. Dana was already going over the room as Rufus and Sheriff looked around uncertainly. I could clearly see Rufus was agitated. His eyes kept scanning the weird stone artifacts. Sheriff, on the other hand, kept glancing at Hagen. Once again, that overwhelming sadness crept across his face. Seeing his friend like that couldn't be easy. She did not have any defensive wounds. There's also almost no blood inside the room itself. She must have been standing right at the doorway. So she was either taken by surprise or she trusted her attacker enough to get close. Did you notice Professor Hagen? Look at his hands. He pointed to the frozen corpse in the corner. Don't you think it looks like he was holding something? Maybe he started to make his way towards his body when... Alright, that's enough about this. Everyone jumped. I have just had enough of this Sherlock bullshit. We need to focus on rescue. And stay away from Tobias. He isn't some object for you to mess around with. Stefan quickly recoiled, raising his hands in reassurance. Now, you just wait a goddamn... To my surprise, he stepped towards her, cracking his knuckles. It was the first time, despite their constant head-butting, that I'd seen him physically threaten her. Jesus, we were really falling apart here. No fucking way my brother's a murderer. But then again, he could be. Okay, let's get this straight. We stay together, we get that god-fucking damn battery, and we fix the radio, we call for help, and we batten down the hatches and wait for the cavalry to arrive. Any fucking objections? We've been over this. We need to find charts so we can tell the rescue where to find us. Didn't June said they could track us, but we need to keep broadcasting long enough for them to get fixed. And that means relying on the battery to have the charge to keep it running. That's assuming anyone can hear us. They were interrupted by a harsh cry of alarm from Stefan. Who the fuck knocked? No. He was kneeling over one of the bodies that lay wrapped near the door. It shifted the bandages around the victim's face, revealing... Oh no. Alex! His shrill cry sent a shiver down my spine. His frantic, desperate tearing at the covering revealed, bit by bit, the decayed, decrepit face of someone who had clearly been a possum in life. The fur was patchy and the flesh was drawn tight around bone, but the resemblance was unmistakable. The question would be, why are they bandaged like this? Like mummies. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. Stefan, it's okay. We're here for you. Just... No! He stormed to his feet, and for the first time with balled fists and a furious snarl, he looked as dangerous as Rufus. It can't be him, it just can't. Stefan! No, this is a trick. He clutched at his head and before anyone could stop him, oh my god, man. Once again, bolting and vanishing the... Okay, well, someone's gonna die. My stomach wrenched as I saw the withered face of Stefan's brother. He'd been here the entire time. Gale looked ready to run after him, but Dana shouted, Gale, stop! Gale turned looking furious. Weren't we supposed to stay together, or does Stefan not count? You seriously think Stefan is going to listen to you? That you can simply tell him everything is going to be okay after he just found his brother's corpse? You think he's just going to walk back like here after a shock like that? Gale looked livid, opened her mouth to respond, but no words come out. Can I also remind everyone that he is one of the 3 people here who could have been responsible for June's murder? I agree. As much as she tried to maintain her righteous anger, Gale looked away guiltily. Going after him will only put you in danger. We need to stick together now more than ever. Rufus shifted, now aware of the suspicious glares from the remaining group. Maybe we could check the bodies? I'd be checking all the bodies now. I'd be like, okay, if that's his brother, what about the other bodies? If I was Garrett, I'd be checking the bodies. If I find Connor there, then okay, holy shit, what the fuck was that? Was that a ghost that saved him? We should go to the bridge, find charts. We can plan our next move after that. No way, we get the battery first. Charts don't mean jack of rain got power. Wait, aren't we missing someone? Oh my days, Sharif is missing as well. I have expected Rufus and Dana to go mental again, but for some reason they both simply exchanged glances. So, no search party this time. Sharif was also one of the 3 possible suspects in June's murder. Doesn't that mean that either him or Stefan could be in trouble? Do you want to go look for them? Aaron grimaced and looked away. I look fine. Why do we split it? Oh my god. Stop splitting into groups. One goes to the bridge, the other goes to check the battery. He quickly added when he saw Dana's tail swish dangerously. Just to check. To see if it really does still have a charge. And since you're dead set on using the fucking vehicle, might as well see if the vehicle can even run anymore, right? Besides, the whiteout is cleared up for now. If we're going out there to check, now is the best time before another blizzard sets in, right? Dana glared spitefully. It was clear she did not trust him, but she couldn't deny his point. Garrett, Tabby, you're the brains of this outfit. You can come with me to take a look. Everyone else can go to the bridge. Fine, but no one splits from their group, got it? I don't care if you need to shit in the corner. No one is alone at any time. Rufus gave a nod. Everyone was watching them closely. They were clearly the 2 who were the most in charge, I guess. The army vet and the detective. Normally that would make for a pretty good leadership team if they weren't constantly butting heads. Wait, what about June? There was a moment of silence as we remembered her body, only a few feet away. Should we leave her there, you know, to preserve the crime scene? I'll cover her. Preserving the crime scene doesn't really matter at this point since we've been all over it. I guess I can carry her into that room and lay her out with the others. He gestured to the makeshift morgue, but Tabby gave an indignant tut. We should take her to the hospital, at least give her a bed, not just stack her with others like some anonymous nobody. We all knew her, at least for a little while. I think she deserves better than to be treated like we didn't. Both Dana and Rufus shifted, looking crestfallen. Gale gave her sister a small but undeniably proud look. Alright, once we take a look at this battery situation and check for the charge, I'll carry her up. Mighty nice of you, Tabby. I'm sure she'd thank you. He added with a warm smile, but Tabby still looked close to tears. Dana grabbed an opaque tarpaulin. She then went down the blood-stained corridor and the rustling of the sheet could be heard. When she reappeared, she looked haunted but gave us a firm stoic nod. Grimly, we moved into our respective group and without any parting words split up. Oh, I thought it ended there. We moved slowly and cautiously. Rufus taking the lead. Tabby at first tried to keep her cool, but rather after only a few minutes in the near total blackness, she scooted closer and hooked an arm through mine. Sorry, she spoke in a whisper, her apologetic tone nearly buried under the bubbling panic. I gave her my best reassuring smile. It's okay. Soak. Oh, it is okay, right? It's okay. Just one more flight of stairs and we're back on the main deck. It's getting hard to breathe. Oh fuck, she really did look like she was going to freak out. I underestimated just how much of a strengthening presence Gale was to her. Okay, listen, try this. Take a deep breath while counting to 3. I demonstrated, loudly sucking in air. It took her a moment to follow my lead, but she eventually did in a single whooping breath. That lasted probably less than a second. I ignored it, concentrating on giving the gist rather than getting it perfect. Hold it while counting to 4. I spoke in a harsh whisper, allowing out only enough air to make the words. I nodded at her in time to the count. 3, 4. Then I loudly but slowly exhaled. Then breathe out, counting to 5 while you exhale until your lungs are empty. I gave her hand a pat in reassurance, and she tried to follow suit, that ended up blasting air out of her lungs in a frightened yelp. I can't. It's okay, you just keep trying. Remember, it's in count to 3. I inhaled, hold, count to 4. I tapped her hand in time to the count. Out, count to 5. I breathed the words as I exhaled again, tapping her hand to the count. It took a few shaky breaths, but Tabby eventually sucked air noisily in, but this time it was much closer to 3 seconds. Once she held her breath, I counted 4, tapping her hand once again. Once I got to 4, I nodded. With an equally shaky breath, she exhaled, emptying her lungs much quicker than 5 seconds, but almost as soon as she was done, she started again sucking air in. She continued with a little of my guidance until we reached the main deck once again and found ourselves near an exterior door. Oh god. The moment we reached the door, Tabby flung herself through it out into the eerie, not quite twilight, gasping and bent over. I was afraid she'd throw up. You alright, kid? Can't imagine that was easy on you. He placed a sympathetic hand on her back, but otherwise allowed her to recover on her own. Fine, just need a minute. I was impressed. Envious even. Here was someone deathly afraid of the dark, and yet she'd accompanied us below decks where there was only torchlight and she'd managed to keep it together. Okay, kid. Sorry to hurry you, but time is of the essence here. Yeah, I'm okay. She straightened up, still looking pretty queasy. When our eyes met, she gave me a small, weak smile and mouthed, "Thank you." I admit, it made me feel warm inside. Once she'd recovered, she led us toward the superstructure, then around it and toward the stern. I glanced out over the side of the Aran, trying to see the horizon, but the flurries of snow made it impossible to see more than a few kilometers. I'd not had time to really take it in back when I first arrived. At this point, it felt like a month ago. That's how desolate this place was. We really were just lost. Nothing and no round for God only knows how far. There, neatly parked in a small garage, was a snowcat. Boxy and bright red, it was covered in a layer of snow and frost. It was about the size, height-wise at least, of a single-decker bus. Its cabin was separate from the bulky-looking rear compartment. It sat upon long tracks that were a good couple of feet in height. Small windows in the sides of the compartment suggested it might be designed for living in, or at least to work in a camper van, I suppose. It looked pretty intact, no sign of damage or decay, but of course any machine could look fine on the outside. Tabby approached and studied it for a while, circling it and shining her torch on certain areas before squatting to examine the tracks. Well, what's the verdict? Rufus couldn't keep the anticipation from his voice, and I was feeling the same. A working vehicle would be a massive stroke of fortune. Well, it's hard to say for sure. I'd need to take a closer look, maybe give it a test drive, but she straightened up and gave us both the biggest smile she'd had for pretty much as long as we'd been on the run. It's in pretty good condition. My heart lifted. Rufus nodded, looking confident. Fantastic news. Now about the battery. Probably in the front. Let's take a look. We clustered around the cabin in front, and where on a regular car at least its engine would be, the front of the vehicle was almost completely flat. And after a moment of examination, Tabby pulled the cover. The front panel of the snowcat lifted and swung upwards, revealing a rather sleek-looking gray box that was neatly wrestled into its housing. Judging from what little I knew of vehicles, I guess it was the battery. Well, there it is. It looked pretty hefty. My skinny arms wouldn't be able to carry it far, and I doubted even Tabby helping me would make much difference. So, how do we know if it's got any juice? Well, I need some tools. A multimeter could give me an idea, help me look. We scattered around the garage. A door led back into the ship's interior, and a second led into a long corridor-like room that was lined with machinery and equipment. A lathe, a pillar drill, welding tools, and a huge array of hand tools like spanners, wrenches, screwdrivers, hammers. Tabby, though, paced along the shelves with purpose, peering at each cluster of gizmos before reaching out to grab one. Score! It was indeed a multimeter. It looked pretty worse for wear, but it was hard to tell whether that was due to usage or the subsequent long-term lack of it. A multimeter is pretty good for checking electricity, for charge. You check for a current, you check for the resistance, you check for. There's a lot of options here. Electricians already use them. She turned the dial and gave a happy thumbs up, and we followed her back to the snowcat. Man, things are looking up at last. He clapped his hands together and stood back, watching Tabby as she fiddled with the battery. Don't celebrate yet. She brushed ice from the components. Like Garrett said before, the cold might have helped slow the battery's charge decaying, but it could still be empty. Plus, even if there is a charge, the battery being cold might make it difficult to actually get anything out of it. I hate to ask, but what about if we use a snowcat to charge it? Just run the engine for a bit? But that would also require the engine to be working, for the tank to have gas, and if the battery is completely dead, we need another power source to exactly. The battery completely dead means we can't jump start or start a car just with the battery. We would need another power source just to give it a little bit of a juice. Because when it's dead, it doesn't have enough charge or power to, strength, I guess. So you would need a little bit of a help or push. Which would bring us back to square one. He was trying to keep the disappointment out of his voice. He wasn't doing a good job. We watched her work for a while. Roof was getting increasingly visibly frustrated. Finally, he banged a fist against the metal wall, causing Tabby to jump. Damn it, if June hadn't wandered off. None of us could have predicted what would happen. Why would someone hurt her of all people? Why would someone hurt any of us? He started to pace gesturingly absently. Whatever anyone thinks of Joseph, killing him for screwing up the Sylvia just feels, I don't know, too much? Especially with all that blood. That was more than just an argument that got out of hand. And June, damn, there's even less reasons to hurt her. But they were the first ones killed. It just doesn't make any goddamn sense. Something about his words made me deeply uneasy. When you say first ones, that sort of implies you think there's going to be more. He stopped pacing and fixed me with a stern gaze. If there's anything Sharif has said that makes a lick of sense, it's that we can't deny the possibility of someone else being aboard. I hope, prayed even, that my shitty lying skills don't extend into my talking, not my expressions. Someone else was aboard, and I needed to find a way to talk to him, ideally before someone else found him. You really think someone could live this long in this place? We haven't found any signs of life, and besides, why would they kill us? That's just it. Being trapped alone in this hulk could drive anyone insane, not Hannah. She's rock solid. Nothing can shake her. You haven't said much about her, except she was in the Navy, was it? That's where she started out. Carried her training with her into civilian service. Always a ball buster when needed. She'd never let things get out of hand unless... Well, I guess it don't matter at this point. His tone and expression was odd. It wasn't sadness as far as I could tell. In fact, I couldn't really interpret it at all. What about you? Why'd you leave the army? He looked surprised at first, but then I noticed his fist clench and his eyes narrow. Just did. That's all. From his tone, I filed the topic under leave it the fuck alone. Rufus, could you do me a favor? Rufus blinked, seemingly remembering her presence. Sure, shoot. Could you check the workshop for any spare batteries? You're running low on your flashlight? I think I have some spares. No, I mean, well, actually, I wouldn't mind some spare flashlight batteries, but I was talking about one of these. She wrapped the snowcat battery with a knuckle. If we have any spares lying around, we might not need to worry about choosing between the radio and having a working vehicle. Well, he glanced towards the workshop doorway. It was only a few dozen meters away, but it'd be out of sight of us, and we of him. Please, I'm almost done here, and I need Garrett's help. Our eyes met for a moment. It was pretty clear there was a bit more going on. I guess I was better at spotting liars than being one. Sorry. Fine, alright. But neither of you move from this spot, okay? Give me 5 minutes. Don't worry, wandering off is the last thing on our minds right now. I gave him a reassuring smile, but he did not return it. He turned and stalked off to the workshop. Once he slipped through the door and we were alone, Tabby sighed and leaned against the snowcat. Can I ask you something? Sure, what? Do you really think there could be someone else on board? She looked me straight in the eye. There was that intimidating intensity she had at the start of the voyage, that piercing analytical look. I don't know. But you must have an opinion, even if you don't know for sure. I gritted my teeth. Lying directly would only get me into trouble, and Tabby was sharp. Whatever else, I had to assume it wasn't Connor who was responsible for the moment. I knew him enough that cold-blooded murder wasn't in his nature, even if violence most certainly was. And if Connor didn't know of anyone else who survived. I don't know what to tell you, wee man. I don't remember much. She wanted me for something, a mission. Huh. What is this something? Somewhere. Oh my days. Okay, big balls in this one. I think it's possible. You said you saw someone who wasn't wearing clothing that matched any of us? She nodded, her expression unreadable. It's just I find it hard to believe one of us would kill Joseph, and especially you. It doesn't mean they wouldn't. Honestly, Garrett, how well do you know anyone here? I raised an eyebrow. She was starting to sound like Dana. Not at all, really. I had to admit it. Everything I knew about these people I learned from a couple of days in the Sylvia, and that was mostly either arguing about Iran, discussing her lost loved ones, or idle chit-chat. Could I really say for sure none of them could kill? She watched me for a moment before looking away, lost in thought. Your turn. I folded my arms, turnabout was fair play after all. I can't deny what I saw in the engine room. It was just for a moment, but is it possible you mistook someone else? The place was full of machinery and it was dark. I'm not an idiot, and being scared of the dark doesn't give me brain damage. I can tell the difference between a pair of legs and a turbine. Then you understand what you're implying, right? That an Iran crew member has not only survived, but was standing in the engine room with you and Gale and said nothing. She looked away again, looking deeply uncomfortable. I'm sure the thought creeped her out even more than I. It might be a ghost. Because the moment our brother, Connor, got out, it was just moments away when someone was walking down the corridor. Do you think whatever noise lured Rufus away was an attempt to get him away from us? Maybe. Maybe your scream scared them off, whoever they were. She grimaced. It sucks, you know. Nyctophobia. Gail thinks I was just seeing things because I was scared. I know she means well, but it's just humiliating. Like I'm a kid who woke up from a nightmare. I love her to bits, but she can drive me insane sometimes. Oh, by the way, thanks. Huh? For what? That breathing thing you showed me. It actually helped. Oh, that, it's fine. I learned it off a friend. Smooth, Garrett. She sensed my hesitation, but thankfully pretended not to notice. Anyway, we should get back to work. Rufus will be back soon. Yeah, what was it you wanted me to do again? Well, the battery has a charge, but in these conditions, it's hard to gauge its actual capacity. Try the engine. If we can start it up, that's a pretty good sign. I nodded and moved to the cabin, clambering in. Garrett, are you forgetting something? I leaned out of the door to see your dangling set of keys. Oh, right, sorry. I know you're a spark and all, but you don't need to hotwire it. She gave me a cheeky grin and tossed the keys to me. I fumbled them, but managed to catch them before I embarrassed myself further. I leaned in, inserted the key, gave a silent prayer, and twisted. The engine sputtered. I kept the key turned, hoping. I tried again, more sputtering. My heart fell. Maybe the fuel was empty after all. Our possible escape vehicle useless. I gave it another twist. Holy shit! Alright! She punched the air and gave me a big grin and thumbs up. I couldn't resist returning the gesture. Damn, I never thought starting a vehicle would give such a rush. Can you check the fuel gauge? I peered at the dashboard that was now lit up. The glowing orange needle had swung over to the right. I felt my heart leap even higher. It looks to be about 2/3 full. Wow, okay, turn it off. I turned the key, leaving it in the ignition. I slid out of the chair and dropped a foot or so from the cabin to the deck. Damn, I can't believe it worked. Oh, you have little faith. I winked and gave her a 2D grin. She gave me a friendly punch on the arm. Yeah, I was worried it'd be empty, or maybe the diesel had gone bad. I guess the code was an advantage after all. Yeah, diesel does fuel. There's an expiration date on that. Fuel goes bad after a period of time. In this case, it's diesel, so it lasts a bit longer. But anyway, it doesn't matter. This is great. Our celebrations were interrupted by the sounds of hoof steps rapidly approaching before Rufus skidded out of the workshop door to stare at us in astonishment. I don't like that look. Then he gave us a big beaming grin. Oh my god, that fucking... Well, I'll be damned. He jogged over to us before pulling us both into a firm, slightly painful hug. I said you kids were the brains of this outfit, and boy did you prove me right. We got ourselves a working set of wheels. We both wheezed as Rufus compressed us against his powerful body. Yeah, cool. Rufus, a little tight. He finally let go, beaming at us proudly. Well, I thought I'd be bringing the mood down when I said I couldn't find any spare batteries, but you guys more than made up for it. So does this mean you still want to use this one? She jabbed her thumb at the snowcat. Rufus' grin faded and he looked thoughtful. You know, maybe Dana's got a point. Since we know this thing works, there's no reason we can't go check on the others and come back for it. It's not going anywhere, right? He stared at the snowcat for a while, pondering. Finally, with a big sigh, he spoke. Alright, we leave it for now. We go check up on the others. How much fuel do we have? About 2/3 of a tank. Good, but not great. If it comes down to it, we need to look for more. I agree. But he clapped his hands together and looked much brighter and energized. Okay, let's go check on the others and give them the good news. Deb and I exchanged excited grins. Finally, things were looking a little brighter. I'm afraid, man, every win, every victory they find and clues they ponder, some shit goes down. I wasn't used to being in such high spirits ever since getting stranded here. With the blizzard dissipated, at least for now, the interior was a bit brighter too. It felt less oppressive, even Tabby seemed less wary. We even chit-chatted on the way up. But as we got to the foot of the steps leading to the bridge, we heard raised voices, specifically Dana and Aaron's. We gave each other worried looks before hurrying up the stairs. Can't be any other reason. That's bullshit, you know it. They paused as the three of us bundled through the door. Dana was standing a couple of feet from Aaron, jabbing a finger at him in accusation, while Aaron was balling his fist, leaning forward in fury. The hell is going on? What's all the ruckus? She's trying to blame Carrie for the fucking charts being wrong, as if her Captain Daddy was just a blameless... Who else would have responsibility for this? Not the Navigator, surely. So what? Was McGregor just sat on his fat ass the entire time? Damn! No, for God's sake, this isn't helping. Can someone please tell us what the hell is going on? The chart was off course. He stepped forward, arms folded and glaring at the pair who looked moments from tearing each other apart. Dana and Aaron paused, staring each other down as though daring the other to try and pin the blame on them. Fortunately, Gale stepped in. We found a number of physical charts that have the Iran's route and position on it. Unfortunately, it's the wrong route, the fake one. We can't get our true position from them. Rufus looked like the wind had been taken out of his sails, and honestly, I felt the same. From feeling great to shit in moments flat. What about the battery? Did you find out if it still works? Better. We found the snowcat itself has gas and we got the engine running. For a moment, even the two of them looked surprised and even cracked a smile, but only for a moment. So now what? We have a vehicle but nowhere to go, and a radio but no way to tell anyone where we are. What was it June said? Something about broadcasting and letting them find us by our signal? In order for that to work, they need to triangulate our signal. We'd also need to contact someone first so they know to even try. At least someone in the family knows something about navigation. She muttered it under her breath, but made sure it was loud enough for him to hear. The silence that followed was like the moment of calm before the tsunami. 1 minute it was dead silence. Aaron charged at her with a feral cry, taking even Dana by surprise. He threw himself at her, screaming bloody murder. I was so completely taken aback, it took several seconds before, without even thinking, I dove in and tried to separate them. Gale joined in, trying to prise the whirling mess of fists and arms apart. As frail as I was, I hooked my arms under Aaron's armpits and held them back, Rufus coming to my aid after he got over his surprise. He screamed in rage, wriggling so hard I nearly lost my grip. Gale, followed by Tabby, placed themselves between the pair, holding Dana back, who had been reduced to furious, incoherent snarls. Get the fuck off me! I've had it with you, bitch! Christ almighty, settle down! Aaron was much stronger than I was, disregarding my teeth and jaws, of course. True, he is a wolf. So Rufus finally had to wrench him from me and roughly shoved him back, placing himself between him and Dana. Dana shoved the two sisters away, snarling at them and eyes flashing with hatred. Fortunately, she stood her ground and did not try to lunge at him. God damn it, you two, this ain't helping. No, fuck you and fuck you too. He stabbed a finger at Dana, who merely returned his glare with contempt. I've had it with all of you. You're on your own fucking own. Damn. You're on your fucking own. Oh no. Well, we just lost another in our group. He turned to storm from the room, angrily wrenching his arm free as Rufus tried to stop him. Now just wait. Aaron, please wait. I'm done. Miss McGregor can channel her alky, gambling fucking daddy for her precious charts. Holy god damn! Dana's look of contempt morphed into one of shock, like she'd been slapped. By the time it registered to her to feel outrage, Aaron was gone. She stared at the door for a moment as though unable to comprehend that Aaron would say such a thing. Then, ignoring the protest of Gale, she barged through the door and vanished. We stood in silence. My heart was racing and my arms and chest hurt from Aaron's thrashing about. Gale looked mortified, looking back and forth between the rest of us. Tabby just looked numb, Rufus crestfallen. Despite not actually being a participant in the fight, my adrenaline was still spiked and I could feel my limbs trembling. I hated this feeling. I guess I'll go see if I can find some more food. Wait, what? What about the battery or the radio? I just need time, okay? He raised his voice in frustration. Raising his hands in surrender, he turned and trudged to the door, pausing only for a brief moment. It seemed like he was about to say something. But then, as with Aaron and Dana, he swung open the bridge door and left his hoofsteps thumping on the steps leading back down to the Aran. Gil was distraught. She didn't even try to hide her tears. Tabby noticed and was instantly at her side, embracing her sister. They didn't exchange words. I don't suppose they needed to. I felt a pang of sorrow. Not even jealousy at their shared bond. In that moment, I don't think I'd ever felt more alone. Listen, she split from her sister, wiping her eyes and nose and violently trying to put on a brave face, a facade of normalcy. I want to go to the hospital to look through mom's stuff. I can't think of a better place to try and get answers to what happened at the end. Part of me wanted to object, to point out that we had a possible escape plan. I couldn't bring the battery to the bridge on my own. But the larger part of me was almost glad in a way. There was someone I needed to find urgently. Someone who owed me a lot of answers, and someone I couldn't meet if we were in a group. So heart aching, and with a building sense of dread, I simply nodded. Tabby tried to give me a reassuring smile. It went without saying that she would accompany her sister. Once the pair left, I was left alone. The stink of blood was different now. It had dried, oxidized. The only traces of Joseph we had left. Maybe it was for the best if we did not find him. The thought of him being alive only to discover June's fate was just too much to bear right now. I don't know who killed Joseph. The man was big, okay? The man was... He could easily fight Sharif and Rufus and Aaron at the same time. I'm not even joking. I trudged despondently to the door. I only had one goal for now. I had to find Connor. I didn't even know where exactly. Her fucking brother just ran. Last time Connor had contacted me, I just woken up in the hospital. Gade and Tabby were investigating the place now, so I knew I could not expect to find him there. Calling out his name was not an option either. Anyone could be listening or lurking. One of us was a killer. June had been murdered in cold blood. Joseph, who even knew at this point. But someone on board was a murderer, and in this one I could not rule Connor out. I wandered the living quarters deck, barely even paying attention. As I passed by each cabin, I shone my torch through the door, assuming it was open to begin with. I started to get a sense of what had happened, or at least partially. Most of the cabins were accessible, their doors either closed but unlocked, open and intact, or in many cases wrecked. There seemed to be a pattern. The rooms that were wrecked generally had their doors destroyed, while the intact rooms mostly had their doors in one piece. The deep unease I was feeling only grew. Had people smashed their way out of their cabins or broken in? Both situations are actually awful. Someone had locked them in, or the doors started getting jammed, and some of them might have died inside, or there were people trying to commit murder and had to barge their way. I don't know. My heart froze as I spotted something. An eye. Oh my god, it is an eye. What the fuck? Reflecting my torchlight, leaning out of a cabin, I stopped in my tracks. Was it the presence from earlier? Ah, you're blinding me! I stared blankly as a familiar figure leaned out of a doorway, shielding his face with a hand. Connor, what are you... Shh, come here, quickly. He beckoned me while glancing around in a panicked state. His eyes were wide with fear. I approached cautiously, never taking my eyes off him until I was close to the door, when he vanished inside the cabin. This was one of the more intact cabins. A section of the ceiling had fallen in, revealing a wide gap with conduits and cables. Is it? Oh yeah. The door was intact, even lockable. I knew that because the moment I crossed the threshold, Connor roughly grabbed me and pulled me inside, locking the door behind me. If Connor is a murderer, we're pretty much fucked. He just locked the door. What am I gonna do? Hey, what are... But I was stopped by the sensation of warmth around me, arms pulling me close. Fuck me, I heard that scream. I thought someone had gotten you, wee man. An avalanche of emotions swept across me. Another one-hand suspicion. Hostility, even hate. My brother who had mauled me and the man who could be the killer we were seeking. But as he held me, I felt longing, an ache, one that I thought I'd long buried away. One I'd used to feel when he drifted away and turned to drink, when I realized it had been months and we'd barely spoken. But the only time I really heard his voice was during his shouting matches with her stepfather. Slowly, I allowed my own hands to rest on his back, awkwardly, torn between embracing him and pushing him away. Sorry. He broke away and I almost thought I caught him wiping an eye. The ache stung even more. You need to answer my questions, brother. Aye, of course. That's why I came looking for you. I've started remembering things about what happened, like Connor. I held up a hand. He gave me a quizzical look. But I need a straight answer on one thing. Did you kill June? He looked stunned at first, mouth opening and closing as though finding the words, then came the anger. You... Of all people, my brother, huh? You seriously think I just killed someone in cold blood, just like that? Oh wait, how does he know? Wait a minute. A pang of a very familiar fear returned. I knew his temper, but I stood my ground, meeting his glare. Acting against the primal fear and stepping up to a man taller, stronger, and probably more violent than me, I got into his face and asked again, Did you kill June? I braced, balling my fist and tensing for a swing or a lunge. The last time I confronted him like this was, well, it was the last time I confronted him, and was also the last time I had use of my left eye. He met my gaze. A rumbling growl vibrated his chest as he drew himself up to his full height. But I held steady. He glared daggers, his tail curled and so did mine. A growl rumbled within me too as I squared off. If I said no, would you even believe me? Connor, I need to hear you say the words. For a moment more, he simply stood with eyes narrowed and fist clenched. Then he blinked. And just like that, the anger melted away. All that bravado evaporated. He looked tired. I can see how after what I did, you'd be skeptical. I would be too, to be fair. No, Garrett, I did not kill June. I can't even imagine a reason why I would. If you have one, I'd love to hear it. It was his turn to be accusing, but I wasn't having it. Well, she could have seen you. About the only thing you've been clear about is that you don't want others to know you are here. Christ, Garrett, I didn't want anyone to see me because someone got killed. Just look at you. Gestured at me. You suspect me and you're my brother. I have even less reason to kill one of your crew than you do. Then I want you to explain everything from the start. You owe me that at least, and I can decide if I can believe you. I agree. It's like... Connor, my brother, 5 years passed, and you're telling me you survived. You lived. How, why, what, and... You're the only... Oh, I fucking hit the table. He's the only outlier in this story. I had him on the back paw and he knew it. Somewhere in the back of my mind, the thought occurred that if Connor had killed June or Joseph, I was in great danger right now. But something deep down told me he wouldn't. A part of me I could not explain. It made no sense the more I considered it. I knew Connor. I bore the little scars of his temper. And let me tell you, I'm ending this short video right here. See you everyone next episode of Polar Night. Bye. Good luck on whatever you're doing.